Today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities Incorporated, expert engineers, designers, and manufacturers of steel training towers, burn rooms, and mobile units that are all made in the USA. Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today, my guest is Joe Nedder. Now, I met Joe Nedder up at FDIC. I spent about 4 seconds with him and fell in love with the guy, right? So Joe Nedder is a passionate and inspirational instructor, and he joined the fire service in 1977. That's the year that Star Wars came out, by the way, just to kind of date the whole thing. And he started on a small rural volunteer department. He became an instructor with the Massachusetts Fire Academy, where he developed and implemented a Firefighter I and II program for volunteers and on-call firefighters. Now, Joe has been attending the FDIC every year for 25 years, and he has taught at the FDIC every year since 2010. Now, you probably know Joe from his numerous articles that he wrote in Fire Engineering Magazine and the Volunteer Corner, and he's also authored 2 books, Rapid Intervention Crews, Jones and Bartlett, which I read, and I didn't realize you did that, and Managing Risk in Volunteer Fire Departments, Concepts, Methods, and Practices for Fire Engineering books. Now, he's a self-described disciple of risk management. Nedder's on a mission to spread the word of continuous, meaningful training and to make it safe and work effectively as a firefighter. Brother Joe Nedder, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jake. I'm very, very honored to be here. Very honored.
Here's how humble you are. And I just brought this up before we start recording. You left off an award you got this year at FDIC. You got the George D. Post Award, right? And I think you're the only volunteer to ever get that award. Is that right?
Yeah, as far as we can figure out, I am the only volunteer, or at least active volunteer, to ever receive it. And a lot of the people who've received the award, people like Salker and stuff, started as volunteers, but their award was for their career achievements. So
wow, that's not a bad group to be in, is it? Be with Salker.
It's unbelievable. I'm still pinching myself going, did it really happen? But yeah, it's a big step. Oh, it's a big step.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And that's where I met you. I did interview you, but my recording skills was horrible. So you promised to be on here, which I'm sure the sound's going to be a lot better. Now, you said you started back in 1977. What got you started in the fire service, and what kept you in the fire service?
I guess I was living in this small town. I knew a bunch of the people, and we were all friends. And it turned out it was just a little bitty fire department, and they were all in the fire department. And they says, "Oh, you got to join." I don't know. "Oh, come on, it's a lot of fun." And I says, "All right." So I went, and it's not anything like it is today. It was very social, shall we say. And
now, hold on. What do you mean by very social? That sounded like you're kind of winking at me a little bit. A little more party.
Yeah, this is back in the days where there might be a what we called an icebox drill at the end of every drill.
Right.
And we'd go out, we'd pump water, we'd do something, raise ladders, or things like that. Have meetings, and then socialize afterwards. At the time, there were no women on the fire department, but a lot of the members were married, and the wives started to interact. And it was actually really nice because being new to the community, my wife was able to meet a lot of people with children, and the department did stuff for families. So it kind of bonded us together. And not to digress, but I want to make this point. I think one of the problems today with the volunteer and on-call and smaller combination is they're not involving the families. And when the families aren't involved, they're wondering what's going on up at that fire station, what's going on at the fire hall, why are they taking so long, and they don't like it. Whereas if they felt that bond as we do, it might surely help.
You say that, and that is such an amazing thing. And I believe it's Jacob Johnson, chief down in Pearland, Texas, that I hope I'm right on this one. He writes letters to all the spouses to his firefighters.
Really?
Thanking them, and how important they are. And, it's the word brotherhood and sisterhood is
Hmm.
tossed around. So I recently just got back from Iqaluit, Canada, up in the Arctic, and it's a smaller department, but their chief. And matter of fact, they're after yours. I believe I will have the chief on the podcast. I've already recorded it, but he said there's brotherhood and there's sisterhood, but really it's family.
Yeah,
And when he said that, I was kind of like, wow, that's really, it kind of
it
hits
is.
home, and it goes right to what you're saying. If
Yeah,
we were to include our families into our family, I think that would make the job even better.
it would. It would very, very much. And it was a big part of it. I was with that department for some years. And what really got me going, though, was I loved it. I remember my first fire. I loved it. And then something very dangerous happened. I started taking training outside of the fire department. Oh
How
my
dare
goodness.
you?
Oh dear eyes, right. That's right. What do you need to know all that stuff for, kid? What are you gonna do? Throw books at the fire?
I
I'm telling you, I heard this stuff. And
believe you.
but it didn't matter to me. And I really got into it. And I became a sponge, a firefighting sponge, and absorbed everything. I took all the classes I could. I worked to better myself. And it just kept getting better and better for me. Eventually, they made me the training officer, and I did that. And that's when I hitched up with the fire academy, and that was kind of different in the way I got into it. I took a class, and the instructor came up to me after the class and said, you should work here. And again, being small town, I said to myself, thank you very much, and left. Ironically, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm standing in line at a coffee store, buying a cup of coffee. And who's behind me? The same guy. And he says, "You're Joe, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "When are you going to put your application in and come work for us?"
Hmm.
So at that point, I promised him, and I got his phone number, and I went through the process and got the certifications I needed and all that bit. And I worked for them for 16 plus years. And
Wow.
it was a great experience. That's where I got involved in rapid intervention. And that
What
really
got you
was.
started down that path? Was it around the same time as Brett Tarver or after Brett Tarver? Or did you have your own thing?
Yeah, we had the December 3rd, 1999, the Worcester warehouse fire. I knew one of the guys who perished.
Oh, yeah.
I actually was on a task force that was brought in that night, so to relieve the Worcester Fire Department members. And I worked the fire from like 9 at night till, I don't know, 6, 7 in the morning, and working. It was nothing more than is pumping and pumping and pumping and feeding the master streams and trying to cool the building down so they could get in at it. So after that happened, um, we all knew the word rapid. We knew the word RIT.
Right.
What do we know about RIT? We knew you throw a bunch of tools into a Stokes basket, and if someone gets in trouble, go and get them. That was the extent of it.
Yeah.
So there was a chief out here, still around. He's retired many years, named Dick Schaefer, and Dick was connected to Chicago, in the Chicago Fire Department. And I can't remember what the connection was, but Dick was the chief of Lawrence, Massachusetts, which at the time was the fire capital of the country, more fires per capita than any other city in the U.S. And they
Oh.
were mostly arson. He approached our state fire marshal and said, "You got to get these two guys, Bobby Hoff and Rick Colomay, out here." So they researched it and they hired him. And you talk about everything aligning. Next thing you know, I get a phone call from the academy going, "Joe, are you available next, whatever, fill in the date?" "Yeah, why?" He goes, "These two guys, Colomay and Hoff, are coming in. Would you pick them up at the airport and get them settled and become the liaison? We're going to be doing rapid intervention," which I'd already signed up for. I said, "Sure." Well, we hit it off. We hit it off tremendously. And every time they came out, I helped liaison them, but we became very close personal friends. They've been to my home many times. Ricky got married a few years ago. Jan and I went to the wedding. I keep in touch with Bobby. There's a third guy. A lot of people don't know his name. His name is Pat Lynch. Pat's a retired lieutenant out of Chicago, and he's a fire god. He really is a fire god. And I learned
Bigger
two
than Joe
things.
Nedder? Come on now. I don't
Oh
know if
man,
I
this
believe.
guy can inspire. They all did. But what I learned really quick was if someone in my department or a department I was mutual aiding to got in trouble, we didn't have the skills, the knowledge, or the capabilities to attempt to save that member's life. And this lit a fire under my butt big time. The second thing I learned was that I was in such poor shape, I couldn't do about 30% of the drills, maybe 40% of the drills, because it was strength needed.
Right.
Well, that set me, and it was embarrassing because here I am, a fire academy instructor out there taking this class, and I'm one of the members of that class who can't physically do the job correctly. So that changed. That was an eye-opening moment. It inspired me, and I got myself into much better shape. And I went on to teach that for the academy as I was the unofficial lead instructor of the class. Most of the classes, they designated me as the lead guy because I was so into it.
Right.
And it just went from there.
So with all the, you were there, basically when Rit became Rit. So for me, I remember when Brett Tarver went down,
Yes.
and we lost the brother, and it became 2 in, 2 out, was
Yep.
kind of the predecessor for Rit or Rick. And then Rit or Rick started rolling around. What big difference when you started with Rit or Rick to today? What are the biggest changes that you have seen?
So I just got to say one thing too. For all our friends in the greater New York area, we will include fast, at least for this conversation.
Oh, and
yeah, a little humor there, man. Because I'm Rit all the way, even though the book says RIC. The big changes were when we started. The word rapid was hammered into us, hammered and hammered and hammered. Get the member out, or whether it was via stair, via window, via ladder. There was no Rit air packs. There were none. So if we were lucky, we grab another SCBA, throw it in a gym bag or something, and drag that in with us. If we didn't have that, and the guy was out of air, you'd pull the regulator out of his mask. Better than letting him suffocate within his mask. Mm-hmm. So that was a very, very big thing. And the other big thing with it was that all the skills were all like in one big grouping. For instance, the Nance drill. Nance drill is labor intense. Guy goes through the floor, gal goes through the floor. You're talking 6-8 people to really affect that rescue, and it's time consuming. Mm-hmm. That's not going to work in a lot of fire departments in the U.S., but it was included, and that was okay. We emphasized a lot the Denver drill. And since then, people have gotten away from the Denver drill saying, that's not going to happen. That was in an old filing cabinet room and all that. Who cares? There's no file cabinets. We don't need it. Really? Well, we have, at least in New England, I know, we have homes that have what's called a doghouse dormer on it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And doghouse dormers are only 3 feet or so wide, and there's a very small window at the end. If that's the only way out to get the guy out, you're going to be using the Denver drill.
Yep.
The third thing that I saw in the beginning was we were having a hard time getting people to buy in. We were hearing I don't got enough people to put out the fire, yet alone do rapid intervention. So It was real big struggle, big struggle, Jake, to get people to buy in. Now we've gone from the buy-in way up, and all of a sudden it's become ho-hum again, and I see a lot of the interest coming down. I don't know what you see on that, but people aren't as fired up about it anymore.
No, that's one of my big passions is Rit. Having been part of a line of duty death back in the 90s. So I understand the importance of Rit. I know how boring it can be sometimes, but it's only boring if you make it boring. For example, a good Rit team, in my opinion, there's a lot they can do. Throw ladders on every second floor. For me personally, there should be a ladder at every window, second story or above, everyone, and thrown at a shallow angle because it's easier than a steep angle. That's number one. Number two, they could be eyes and ears for the IC. They can make constant 360s. That's number two. Number three, now this one is dependent on whether, the hose is going in an inlet or an exhaust. They can do door control as long as they're not using their air. Now, I know that's a rare one, but it's something to think about. Um,
Absolutely.
there's so much that RIT can do instead of just standing in the yard with a pike pole
That's
talking
right.
about what movie they're going to see this weekend.
Yep.
And the people that don't appreciate RIT have never suffered a loss. I wish I was not a member of the Club of Lost Brother Firefighter Club. I'd give anything not to have that membership, but I do. And I try to use that to help others. But I'm sure you understand you can be as passionate as you want and as factual as you want. But if they see it as something that's more of a nuisance, an obstacle than an opportunity, you're going to have that problem. And then, God forbid, something should happen, and you should never run back to the truck for anything. If you're on RIT, you should never
Agree.
run back to the truck ever. You should have everything
Yeah.
you need right there.
I believe
That's
they
my
get there.
soapbox.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love everything you're saying. On arrival, the RIT officer should report face to face with the IC and get a quick what's going on. Tell me what's happening. Paint me a picture. Get permission. Run a 360 if we're not at Walmart,
Right.
and then run the 360 with the team. Identify objects that could become hazards, things that could inhibit us. If you walk around back, is it 2 stories in front and 3 stories in back? Oh, like Pittsburgh, and stuff like that. Now, the thing too is that if we make it Coleman used to tell me, Joe, this is a proactive position. We need to promote it as a proactive position and get people to buy in. And one of the ways I do that, Jake, is when I get to go out and speak to groups and everything, especially a Chiefs group, I like to ask 3 questions, and I'll kind of paraphrase them because I don't have them written here on my PowerPoint or anything. But the first question is, how confident are you in your members' abilities to rescue? How confident are you with your members' training in rapid intervention and rescuing one of our own? And they all sit there and they nod. Yeah. We had a drill on that. Second question is, how confident are you that if it was a member of your own department who needs your RIT team, that they would make a heroic and capable effort, to save the life of that member? And they all nod. Yep. Then the third question is the hard one. You would, without any hesitation, put your own son or daughter's life into the hands of that rapid intervention crew. And that's when they don't nod, and that's when they don't say anything, and that's when they look down at the table.
That's amazing.
But it's the truth, man.
Yeah.
It's the truth. And the other thing is, I like to point out, and again, I speak for the smaller departments. If I'm in Chicago, I'm in Indianapolis, I'm in New York, the one thing they all have that we don't have is they got a lot of firefighters, a lot of bodies they can throw at that rescue. Mm-hmm. The rest of us don't. And that's why our skills, what I call the basics of RIT, they need to be sharp. Yeah.
And the basics of RIT, that's the funny thing. They're all skills we possess on everyday fires. They're just turned slightly inward for us. Yes. Our victims aren't going to have air packs on, so we don't have to deal with that. But how hard is it to learn how to transfill, buddy breathe, or use a RIT pack?
Right.
It's really not that hard. We being expeditious, like here's one of the training scars I've created in the past. We got a down firefighter. He needs air. His air mask is broke, whatever I came up with. And they're in there and I'm like, come on, we got to get that mask on him. Now I know, look, if you can get some air to him, get him out. Don't.
That's right.
If you got time, great. But let's pretend like you don't. If their mask is broken and there's a little bit of air going in there, have somebody hold it. Just get him the hell out of there, man. Get out of there. Let's work with him outside.
That's right.
But I think it's too important. And here's the thing. It's one of those things you don't want to find out how terrible you are at RIT on a fire. You just don't. You really don't.
No. And it's, God forbid it happens. It's going to happen at the most inopportune time, many times with people who really aren't capable. I like to say, is it you who are capable and Mo, Larry, and Curly standing out there as the RIT, or are there 4 strong, capable firefighters who are ready to make the effort to try and save your life? Because that's the other thing. They might not save your life, but we want someone who can really make that effort because things could go bad.
Right.
And I mean, that's reality. So I can't say enough about it. I hammer on it to this day. I take teams out and we teach it. I personally, at my age, I don't do a lot of the physical things, but my job is to motivate, inspire, and kick butt with the students. And it really is. And say, what do you mean? Come on, for God's sake, you're 27 years old and you can't lift that guy? That's crap. Don't tell me you can't lift him. Get in shape and do your job. And
Nice.
that's my job. Yeah.
And I've had this conversation here before. And of course, my 3-point firefighter, the 3 points are pride, training, and physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about being so prideful in your job that you wax your truck every day. I'm not talking about physical fitness to where you can bench press 500 pounds. And I'm not talking about training to where you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're pulling holes going up the stairs, flowing at 2.5. I truly believe to be a better firefighter, you can take those things and do small things every day, and it's going to do leaps and bounds. RIT, you don't have to have 3 companies to practice RIT. You can practice RIT in your own. You can have one engine in your own bay. It's a rainy day, a cold day maybe. You can still practice RIT. Tell me how you would tell a single company, 4 people, they're in the bay, it's a cold, rainy day, they're staying inside. What are some of the things they can do to improve their RIT skills there?
What I would say to you is, in order to improve our skills, you're going to need, I like 3 people, 3 members to do this. Rotate as the victim. If you have more, great. The first thing I'm going to tell you before we get into any skills is go out and buy some masonite and put it on the apparatus floor. Because if you drag those bottles on that concrete, you're gonna wreck the fiberglass coatings, and you're gonna have to write a Dear Chief letter. You need a new $1,000 SCBA. So here are the things I think that are most important, and 3 members can do this. Number 1, a single firefighter drag. We all have to be able to do that.
Right.
I find you. The fire's rolling over our heads. I got to have the strength and skill to at least drag you out of the door, close the door, and put you up against the wall, then call a mayday.
Right.
Second thing is the 2 firefighter rescue, whether it's the push-pull or side-by-side drag. Side-by-sides are hard in most homes. So I really believe in the push-pull. I think you know what I'm talking about. I am a major believer in webbing. Major league. I believe that we all should be carrying 25 feet of webbing, 1-inch tubular, water knotted. I can do wonders with that. If again I'm with you and I can't move you, I can wrap that around your shoulders. I can wrap it through your SCBA harness. I can wrap it around your ankles if you're falling forward on me. Go back to the door, sit with my feet against the jambs of the door, and with a rowing motion, I can pull you out of that room.
Right.
Okay. I can use it to make a harness that 2 firefighters and 1 firefighter can do. Redirections, I call it the spins. We're all going to need to be able to do that, because if I drag you to the window and you're going out feet first, I got to have a method to be able to get you out the window. Simple things like, how do I lift you out? And there are 2 ways I like for ladder carries. One is the cradle. We all know that. And the member goes out. I say guy, forgive me. The member goes out. And there's a firefighter, arms through the legs, arms under the thing. But we have that issue of that SCBA bottle, and you got a short guy like me with short arms. I'm hanging on by my fingertips on the beams. One of the methods that Bobby Hoff taught me was, and I named it the Chicago carry, is right before we put you out, we strip the SCBA off you, lift you, seat you on the sill, drop you on the rest of his shoulders, and he carries you down like that. It's lickety split. These, to me, are things that every one of us can be practicing, including those lifts, because you can make a window prop. It's not the ladder. We know how to carry people on ladders. It's the lifting skills. And we need to develop techniques, the ready, go, and none of this, on your mark, get set, or 1, 2, 3. I mean, real hard skills. Knots. Think of it. Here you go. Tie a handcuff knot. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Well, we might need it. When was the last time you tied it? Oh, 8 years ago in recruit. Dumb, dumb stuff like that. Calling a mayday. It's
Yeah.
not the hard written skill. Calling a mayday. Work them up, sweat them up, stick them in a dark corner and say, oh, call a mayday right now. And it's just, it's not hysterical. It's sad to watch them struggling to find their radio, and then they can't, you can't hear them talking and stuff like that. So those, I think a company right now could be practicing stuff like that every day or every shift. Not all of it. One shift is the drags. Another shift is the SCBA removal. We might have to drag them through studs.
Now, let me ask you about this. When you say SCBA removal, are you keeping their mask on? Or
Yeah.
you okay? So and they're still hooked in breathing air. You're just taking their SCBA off to help them navigate the confined spaces.
Yes, both.
Okay.
Actually, both. If we were going to have to take the mask off, how do you very quickly remove it? Okay, I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you to the window, strip your SCBA, and for whatever reason you're not going out. Maybe it's a big guy, and we got to put you on the shoulders to carry you down.
Right.
So that's a method, and you're going to be in toxic crap with skill 10, 15 seconds. But otherwise, it's to get going through narrow confines, wall breaches. Think about how you going to take it off them. And you hear everything from take a knife to cut it, to sit them up and take it off. And it's silly because it takes too much time. And back to my first words I told you, they hammered into me. Rapid, rapid, rapid. Get the member out. Get them to medical care.
Right. Well, that's another thing that I think that I have failed as a training officer is after we do these rapid intervention team drills, and once they pull them out, I say, okay, you're done. I think what I need to do is say, okay, they have no pulse, they're not breathing, and have them continue. Because what would we do in real life? We would strip off all their clothes, start CPR, get them oxygen. So that's something.
Yes.
With a RIT, you should have a BLS bag there on your RIT with your RIT team as well. So some of the things that I've learned over the years as well. What is your thought on like thermal imaging and the specific type of search to go? So let's just say the point I'm trying to make is, let's say I'm down in a fire. You're coming to get me. Okay. Now I'm not on a line. I was doing truck work, so I'm not on a line. You have a general idea. So I've heard people say, man, the tried and true left hand, right hand search. Me personally, I don't believe in that one. I think that one could go away. But what do you think? How are you going to get to me?
I was taught RASP, rope assisted search procedure, out of the Chicago. And I did never work for Chicago, and they don't pay me to say that, but it's a phenomenal technique. And what I like about the RASP is that we're not doing our traditional primary left hand, right hand search. We're beelining to where we're supposed to be going, and we have that piece of rope that will guide us safely back to where we began if we're using the procedure properly.
Okay.
As part of RASP, you learn how to use your camera, and the camera you pretty much you're really sweeping low in front of you. The guy could be right in front of you.
Right.
Then you kind of scan ahead, and as we're scanning ahead, depending on the facility, you might spot. Say we're in a commercial building, an office, so we target it. We crawl down without holding the camera in front of us. Okay, no tunnel vision. Get to the office, scan the office. If we can't see, I can send a member into the room with a camera and watch them. Check behind the desk. Okay, clear. You can, if you have 4 members, if I'm doing that, they can leapfrog to the next,
right,
and move forward and stuff like that. The one thing I want to say about thermal imaging is we have a problem, and here's the problem in the fire service. When we practice thermal imaging, the majority of us, it's on the apparatus floor, or we go to the burn building or whatever, but typically we're never putting the camera in the type of heat where the body is cold and the surroundings are hot. So if we were using black and white, I put the camera on you, you're going to appear dark. If we're in a burn building or a real fire, you're going to appear white or light. And we're not practicing that way. So in our own way, we're training backwards. And no one's talking about that. Well, I shouldn't say no one. Some are, I am, and a few others.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the thermal camera is imperative in a RIT search. Other issues you're going to find is that um, if the member is a ceiling collapse,
Mhm.
it's not an X-ray machine. You're going to have problem. You're going to have a problem finding them.
Right.
Um, that report, everyone around your area uses RECOVS, not REC, excuse me, blank. We use LIP, location identification problem.
Right.
Okay, out here, and scratch RECOVS. I'm so sorry I said
That's
that.
old school. Recio VS. I mean,
Yeah, I know. All these acronyms.
I know. We
But
love our acronyms.
we do. But the thing is, if I'm able to call and tell you, oh yeah, I'm on ladder one, and we had I'm trapped under a ceiling collapse. The rescue company or the RIC company knows I'm not going to be just laying around. I'm going to be under something.
Right.
So they should be using that as a clue.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I have learned from some of the best a lot of great thermal imaging tricks. I say tricks, limitations really. And once you learn a limitation of something, you can learn how to work around it.
Yes.
And truly blessed to be one of the instructors for the ISFSI basement fire class. And I have taught
Wow.
their thermal imaging, but then I met the man himself, Mike McCarthy, captain out of Boston, who
Mm.
is phenomenal. I mean, I can't think of the words. They escape me. I don't have the words of how good this guy is as an instructor, but he taught me an awful lot about thermal imaging. For example, the spot temperature in the middle of a thermal imager.
Yeah. Yeah.
That if it's studies have proven that's pretty much inaccurate. In the new 1801, they may even get rid of it. But like you could be looking at a carpet and it's 85 degrees. Now, if you peel back the carpet and you look at the insulation, that might be 100 degrees. Now, let's
Yeah.
say you can peel that back and you're looking at the OSB subflooring. That might be 212 degrees. The
Yep.
whole time, it's over 1,200 degrees underneath you.
Yeah.
And that's important to know. It's a 2D screen, and your brain likes 3 dimensions. So you're always going to be short, of your object if you keep using it. So one of the drills that we teach is I will have a thermal imaging camera, and I will be looking at you. You're standing about 6 feet away from me. I'm looking straight at you. You have your hand in a C, like a C, right beside your head. I'm holding
Right.
the axe, and I'm putting the handle of the axe into your hand, and only using a 2-dimensional thermal imaging camera screen. And it takes me a while to do that because my brain doesn't understand the 2 dimensions versus 3 dimensions. So it takes a while. But if I do it 2 or 3 times, I get faster and faster. And then I have people drop the thermal imaging camera and then they just go pop it in the hand. And I say, okay, you're doing sets and reps with your brain. Now do it again. And on that 4th time through the thermal imaging camera, they've moved already so much faster because their brain is learning. There's a limitation. It's a 2-dimensional screen trying to work in a 3-dimensional world.
I love it.
Those, again, all stuff that I was taught by Mike McCarthy and
Yep.
Gilbert Pedroza and all those before them. They will never tell you they invented any of this stuff. They've just learned it from good instructors. So I think that is so important.
We need more training like that. There's not enough of that out there.
No, sir. People
Absolutely
turn it
not.
on and look around, and that's it. They
Yeah.
don't realize just turning it 90 degrees gets you a better field of view.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
show that, people are like, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing."
Yeah.
And I hate all the modes. I'm going to be the first one to put it out there. I hate all the modes. Give me black and white. That's all I need. I don't
You're
need
singing to the choir, man.
yeah, here's your salvage overhaul ice cream mode. It's
Yeah.
like you don't need 6 blades on your razor. You don't need pineapple on your pizza, and you don't
That's
need
right.
all those bullshit modes on thermal imaging. Stick to what
Agree.
works, black and white.
And you know what the problem is with that? Look at our younger members. They're all tech savvy. They got this. Okay.
Yes.
Everything's an app. You give them something with a button with 37 modes. They're more focused on what mode they're using in there
Right.
than doing their job. And I agree. Now, I will say this: MSA has they all have a lot of modes, but one mode MSA has, and I believe they still are the only ones, is I call it reversing the polarity.
Mm-hmm.
So for training, the colors reverse. So you're training as you would really see it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Neat.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's
Yeah.
really neat. We
Yeah.
like to also, because a lot of people don't understand the high sensitivity, low sensitivity settings on these things.
Yeah.
And so we'll have a burn barrel and have them look at the burn barrel. And of course, it goes from high sensitivity. I call it high def because everybody understands high def TV. You look at it, and once it hits over that 325, 350 mark, it goes into low def,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
teach them how to reset that. But you're just looking straight down at something that's not 350 degrees. So all this stuff, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, what can we do in the firehouse on a cold, rainy day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just simple exercises like that with your
Yes, sir.
thermal imaging.
And I would like to add one thing with that. I have a new mantra: no one and done. Okay, if I'm going to teach you a skill, okay, Jake, drag the guy over here, drag him 10 feet. Okay, you got it. Yeah, I'm all set, Joe. How can you learn anything doing it once,
Right.
over and over, and progress it from to the point that maybe they're blacked out. Everyone's on air and doing all. We have to hammer it, and we have to, with our RIT skills, incorporate them into other drills, or at the end of a drill, do some dragging, do some stair carries. I didn't mention that. If you have
Oh,
stairs,
yeah.
that's a tough drill.
It
And
is. The key to that, though, if I can interrupt you, is communication. It is so. If you can communicate with that person, if I'm
Yep.
pulling and you're pushing and we're doing it at the wrong time, we're gonna kill ourselves.
That's
But
right.
if we know and we've practiced this skill, it's still miserable. Don't get me wrong. It's just like having a
Absolutely.
first wife, man. You get your first wife, you can go to therapy all day long, but it still sucks. So we're, get rid of that first one. But I really truly believe that good communication, well, in everything we do, but talking about stairs, you can do it. It can be done. And
Yes, sir.
communicating, and you'd be surprised what a 3-second break can do for you.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
got 3 seconds, all right, do it again. Do it again. You will go a lot faster up those stairs as opposed to trying to bull your way up there.
Absolutely. Hey, Jake, one of the things I'd like to, because I know I could stay online with you for about 8 hours, and we'd have a
Same.
running conversation.
Same. Fell in love with you when I first met you, brother. I get it. I get it.
I want to talk about this. Okay? This is my book, the newest one for fire engineering.
Okay.
It's entitled Managing Risk in the Volunteer Fire Department. It should have been, and it's my fault, I wish I had entitled it Managing Risk on the Volunteer Fire Ground.
Okay.
And this, we talk about saving people and rapid intervention. To me, this is a spin-off of that, because we need to understand, and we don't, risk. We're not invincible. That sticker that says no fear, that's a joke. You should be scared to death. Okay, the one with the skull and crossbones and the pirate and then the helmets and all that, saying we don't care about dying. I haven't met anyone yet who has told me, yeah, I really want to die at a fire. But what's happening is we don't understand risk. Okay,
Right.
especially in the smaller groups. It's always been presented in a very academic way.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a lot of read 1500, not 1500, read the RIT standard blank.
Right.
Okay. It's nuts. It's written by lawyers, and okay, I understand that, but I'm not an attorney, and I don't understand a lot of that gobbledygook. To me, if I'm on a small department, whether it be career or otherwise, I mean, around here we're surrounded with career departments with 30 and 40 members. That's still a small team.
Right.
We need to understand the number one secret to risk is training.
Yep.
Okay. And that's what this book is all about. And it talks about how to assess risk and all that. But we have to understand, besides looking at something and saying, what am I at risk of? The house is burning, or the building's burning, or the trees collapsed on the roof, and whatever. Any of those things. Okay, understand what the risk is. But also, we need to understand it's our training that will help us to stay safer and to mitigate these situations. And by blowing off training and take the training and baby it down, this is all we need, or any. I can't stand this stuff. It drives me nuts. I don't care if I'm in the smallest fire department in the world. The fire is going to kill and burn me the same way as it is a guy in a big city. And
Yeah.
yeah,
There is a, how can I say this? There is a firefighter I may have met who may be a training officer whose chief may like to baby down training because there's less griping. Now,
yeah,
this could be completely hypothetical. This may not have ever happened. Just hypothetically speaking, that could have
okay,
happened. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? And it's heartbreaking because people like that don't support training and don't see the importance of training are setting their people up to die or get injured
yes, sir,
in a fire.
yes,
Those
sir,
people will not be in the fire dead. Those people that are making the decisions about
yes, sir,
training will not be in the basement in a collapse.
yep,
They'll
yep,
be the ones on the news saying, "Oh, what a tragedy. This is horrible that it happened to us."
yes,
Oh,
sir.
I get on my soapbox about that. I get on my
Oh,
soapbox
I'm
about that.
biting my tongue because I want to say they should be charged, but I won't say that. So,
It's, and it's my experience has been in quite a few places that training, not all places, but not all places. Okay. And I'm bringing up a small group, but a loud group, is that training is an obstacle, not an opportunity.
that's
And
right.
those people are basing their success on lack of failure. I promise you, if any one of those people fell through a hole and really had to pray to their God and get on the radio and tell them, just in case, tell my family I love them, I promise you, the very next day, if they survived, they would be all about training.
You
They
bet.
would get it. But here's the trick: you don't have to do that. You don't have to be near death to enjoy, not even enjoy it, but do it, learning, master your craft, because it's not just your life, it's everybody on the
You
scene.
bet. You bet.
Soapbox. I'm getting mad. I think I'm gonna go punch a teddy bear or something.
Yeah. Well, you're getting me wired up here and fired up. I will say this: during the Second World War, there was no such. You would never find an atheist in a foxhole. And yeah, I didn't fight in the Second World War, but I was told that by many people I knew, and it's the same with Rick.
Yep.
Okay, because that guy or gal who's had to pull their regulator out of their mouth and they're sucking air from the rug is praying to God that the people coming for them have been properly trained and have the skills and motivation to try
Right.
and save their lives. And that's all part of this. It's infuriating to me. The other part of it is why haven't they taken rapid intervention and made it part of the 1001 professional qualifications, the skills of RIT?
You tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Yeah, it's change. That's why change. We don't want change.
Yeah. Oh no. No. And the people that do want change have suffered or endured a traumatic injury or loss in this
Yeah.
job. This job wants to kill you. Fire never wants to let you go. Fire, the house on fire doesn't want to stay standing up. Gravity and the fire want that house on top of you. And the fire doesn't want you to be comfortable in your gear. The fire wants to kill you. The only thing that's going to keep that fire from killing you is being a master at your craft and giving
Absolutely.
two fucks about our job. And our job is not us, it's them.
That's right. Hey, before I forget, too, I warned you. I want to plug. We're on
Please.
Instagram.
All
I don't know
right.
if you can see it.
Pull it back a
Okay.
little bit. Okay. CSA fire training.
Fire training on Instagram.
Yes.
And I have this. I call him my fire service son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or I'm his fire service stepdad, a young man named Jason Bangma, and you might have heard of him. He's
I
pretty well
know
known.
Jason Bangma. He is one of my heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jay has set that up, and as we're doing more and more training, we're going to start trying to get very, very active on it and showing some of the things that we're doing. And I think our brothers and sisters might find it of interest. So please follow us.
And tell us the name of your book again, your new book, and where to get it.
Yeah, it's Managing Risk in the Volunteer Fire Service,
Mhm.
and it's by Fire Engineering Books, and it's a bargain.
I guarantee
It really
you.
is.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Brother Nedder, this has been a treat for me. You got me all fired up. I got to go outside and yell in a pillow. I'm so mad right now about people not taking the job seriously. Brother, you are the best. I look forward to seeing you again in the future. I know where you're going to be next April, so you know I'll track you down.
For sure. I'm there, man.
Brother,
Thank you,
stay
Jake.
safe, and thank
All
you
the
for
best.
what you do for all of us.
Thank you. You also. Thank you.
Stay safe, brother.